All right, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar about Document Creator by IDIN. On behalf of my colleagues Thijs and Nicolas, who are also joining in the session, I hope we'll have a nice and informative session about this Document Creator tool, a reporting tool connected or implemented in NAV/Business Central. Today we show the product on the Business Central sandbox installation. Just click. My name is Koos. I'm a senior software engineer at IDIN, and I will guide you through this about half an hour presentation, and hopefully you will enjoy the session. And a few rules in advance. If you have questions during the session, please use the questions pane. If you have feedback, there will be a survey at the end of the session. You can leave your comments, suggestions there. There will be a recording of this session after made available after today, somewhere probably next week. You will get a link so you can download it and share the video with your colleagues. For all other questions that you may have regarding our Document Creator product, but also our other products, please address those questions to sales@idin.nl. Right. Well, IDIN, as I said, who we are a global ISV selling horizontal add-ons throughout the world. We are based in the Netherlands, in the beautiful castle you saw on the first slide, and we have a subsidiary in the USA, in Boston. Company information, as I said, we sell our software globally. We have a network of 400 plus partners in 40 plus countries, and we sold over 3,000 plus licenses over the years. Our main focus is on one side the development-oriented tools. A lot of you guys may know Object Manager Advanced, which is one of the most successful add-ons out there. We have Document Creator, obviously the topic for today. And on the integration part, on the right side of the screen, we have add-ons Connected, Shipit, and NavCommerce, Magento-based e-commerce solution. Please visit our website, www.idin.nl. If you want more information on that, or contact our sales department if you need any information about all the other tools. Today, we will discuss Document Creator. I will do a demo and give you some short background information on why the tool exists in the first place and how to use it, and why I think it's a fabulous tool to do reporting inside NAV. You have to realize that Document Creator is not replacing RDLC or Word or whatever, so the standard reporting just stays intact as you know it today. You can use Document Creator next to it as another way of creating and maintaining reports. The engine that is used in the background is called Fast Reports, and that is a proven technology solution for over the last 20 plus years. It has been embedded into 100 plus software solutions, other ERP products, and is used by over 1 million users worldwide on a daily basis. So it's not something that just popped up and was developed in a few days. It's a proven technology for many years. And the engine, the Document Creator, is just the link between Dynamics NAV or Business Central, for that matter, and the Fast Report platform. Now, as I said, I couldn't resist to put in an old screenshot of the sales order confirmation report that is part of standard NAV, and it's just an old screenshot showing an RDLC layout in the Microsoft Reporting Engine, and it's just to compare against the Document Creator version of that. And I want to emphasize the fact that that Document Creator is a very intuitive and easy to learn and easy to use tool. Basically, it takes you minutes to understand how it works and what it can do, and it does not take away a lot of time in creating and maintaining reports. A screenshot of our version of the sales order confirmation, which is exactly the same layout, basically, but then in the Document Creator interface. This is what we are going to show today, and I'll give you some examples of the powers of control sets, data types, and stuff like that. So bear with me. It's demo time. All right, so as promised, I opened up a sandbox environment, and the Document Creator app has been installed to this system. So we just navigate to the custom report layouts, custom report layouts, and a little bit down here you see the reports that ship with the tool by default. Obviously, I'll get back to that a little bit later, but you get all the templates for free when installing the package, so you don't have to start from scratch. You can use our starting point sample reports as your template and start working from there. For now, I will open the sales order confirmation layout and start editing a bit. I'll run the export. I'll include some data so I can do previews while doing the design, which makes it a lot easier. So I exported the layout from the database. And here we are. So the screenshot you saw in the presentation is exactly this screen, but now in edit mode, of course. So at first glance, the recognizability is one of the key points. If you compare this to the screenshot that I made from the Microsoft reporting engine, it makes clear that this is about a customer address, and you recognize the controls basically, which is a big advantage. Then obviously, when you start selecting controls, you can do multiple selection. You can apply the properties that belong to the multiple selected controls. You can move them around, make them the same size. Everything that is basically part of a Visual Studio oriented editor is also part of this editor. So very nice and easy. We have, of course, undo and all kinds of specific features. I'll get back to the specific properties in a while. The first thing I would like to show you is the control set. So on the left side here, you have all types of controls, from interactive maps to normal text controls to barcodes and things like that. So I just want to show you how this tool works by drag and drop of data expressions from your data source, obviously, into a selected control. So the first example is to make this a little bit wider. This is the item line of a sales order, and select the barcode type here and select the code 39 control, put it in the section, and then double click. This default source expression is now replaced by something out from your sales line, and in my case I will choose the item number. So drag and save, and our first little adjustment is finished. So very easy, and this goes for all controls, control types that you see, but just as a very simple example on how to manipulate the layout by just a few clicks. Let's close this one down. Editing, of course, it knows undo, so I can just undo not only my insertions, but also my movements around. Everything is placed under the undo, which a grown-up editor should do, of course. Next example would be to show you the easy way of putting things at the bottom of the page rather than on the next available piece of space on your printed paper. So for example, I will show you this layout again. You can see the VAT specification block here, but suppose I want to glue that to the bottom of my report down here. It's in a lot of report editors and other engines that I know, it's kind of a tricky thing to do that, and not always possible. In here, it is just a matter of selecting the sections where the VAT information is printed, which is this header with this line and footer information. So this group of sections down here. So it's a matter of clicking the right mouse and selecting the print on bottom property here, and it now jumps to the bottom of my page with, of course, respect to the footer that was already there. So that this is the fixed footer with some banking information on the bottom of my page, and right on top of that there's the VAT specification block. So very easy to use, and certainly not rocket science, but it speeds up your processes by just clicking a few things and achieving functionality like this. What I was also would like to mention is the fact that the data source, of course, comes from the in a NAV system from the object, a report object, and in this case from the report from the Visual Studio Code. So there you specify the data items and the nesting and the columns that your data set has. But there's, of course, a default sorting order. If you look at the example of this first sales order, you see that the whiteboard comes first because that's the first sales order line, and then the absence table comes next. But if you want to change the order from a representation point of view, so you have the data set in a certain sequence, you can decide to select this child band and edit the sorting parameter. So it's now sorting by default by the line number basically. But if you want to change that and sort by item number, or for whatever, for what it's worth, per amount or something like that, it is also possible. So I selected the sorting on item number, and then the data set has not changed at all, but the sequence of the records is now inverted. So very simple. Basically the only problem you have is that you should know where all the properties are and how they are to be manipulated. But if you've seen this once or twice, it's very easy and intuitive to get going with stuff like this. Another example of this demonstration is the fact that you can see the lines here, they switch color every second line. So the first one is white and the second is gray and the third one is white, and then so on and on. For the readability purposes, very nice layout thing. But it's not a property on the line, it's not a hard-coded property, because it's switching record per record. So it's like a kind of setting that changes while the records are being processed. The same thing you see here. There's a column that turns red because of the fact that the value is below 500. And how do I do that? That's because this engine also supports the availability of C# functions in this example that you can apply to the section you want you need it. So for example, the sales line unit price value, if that is below 500, then I want the controls to turn red where the default color is black. So code like this, and the second example, the row coloring here. The only thing you have to realize is that you can create the functions as much as you like, refer to the values of the controls in your report, and attach the function to the printing of, in my case, the section. So if I point to this section, you see the function, the sales line before print, which makes it gray and white over and over again. Or if I select the unit price control here, you see the other function being used. The scripting is part of the engine here. So here you can select which scripting language even you can even switch between C# or Visual Basic.NET, whatever you prefer. And it's per report selectable. So people preferring C# could use that to do even more sophisticated control in their report. So the properties itself are pretty extended, but you can even manipulate them at runtime should you need that functionality. All right. Again, as I said about the properties itself, one of the most used properties, and I will just swap back to the property pane here, is what we call the visibility expression. So, for example, this salesperson value here, you see the label or the caption here and the value of the salesperson here. The caption has a dependency on the salesperson data being populated, yes or no. So the caption does not show if there is no salesperson. You can see that in the preview, this sales order has a salesperson where this one has not. Typically in old NAV, if people remember that, it was all a kind of, it was not even possible to put that in a classic report. You had to do that in code. In this case, it's just a simple property on the value that you want to show or hide conditionally. So here, if salesperson not equals empty, show me. Otherwise, show me not. The visibility expression is also something that is not only available on separate controls. Of course, it is also applicable to the sections as a whole. So text lines print this section here. As you can see that the sales line type, if it's a text line, then print this section, and the item lines obviously is this section, the child number 2. It's kind of difficult to read, but it says child number 2, where the sales line type is checked as unequal to 0. Very, very easy to understand properties that apply to the selection that you are currently working on, both separate controls or groups of controls as a whole. The same thing I showed, by the way, in doing the sorting is also possible when you do special grouping. I don't have an example in this particular report, but grouping is also a matter of right-clicking and say that you want to group your records based on a certain column from your data source. So also maybe 10 seconds of work and you can get a special grouping depending on the report that you are creating. All right, from a general point of view, there's a strict split between the data logic, the business logic inside the object traditionally, and the layout things that are handled in this engine. So there's no business logic whatsoever in this report, and there is no printing stuff in the overlying report object. This is for the visibility of things. The business logic is for the data to be produced and to be handled and maybe even manipulated. But it's like torn apart. It's not integrated with each other. That's a very good thing. Traditionally, in a report object, there was business logic and layout pieces of CAL and AL code combined together, and this engine typically takes away that kind of interaction. What's also important to understand is that the engine is, from a system variable point of view, it holds all kinds of things like number of pages, total number of pages, etc. But it's kind of powerful how you can use that. So you can see here on the first page, and I will show the preview again. On the first page it says 1 out of 1, but it prints on the first page. How does it know that there are 10 pages to follow? Basically, that's also a property on the report that handles the powers of that. So if you look at the report properties up here, you can see the double pass Boolean being activated. That means that the data is basically processed twice, once to prepare and to count and to calculate, and then the second run is to actually print using the specified report structure. So therefore it gives you the powers to, for example, start with an invoice total where the first line has not even been printed yet. So in that respect, it gives you pretty sophisticated possibilities here. On the other hand, if you have a report that just needs speed, you can just disable. You could then lose functionality like this because it is actually passing the data only once. But in some circumstances, I can imagine that you just need the speed and you want to process hundreds or thousands of records and you just don't care about double pass functionality. So the important thing to understand is that you can switch it on or off to your needs whenever it applies. All right. Having said that, then a little story about installation and setup of this thing. As I said, it's coming with a package of sample reports, which you can just import as a package, one click, and you get them all. And then you could use them as a starting point, as explained. You don't have to invent the wheel from scratch over and over and over again. You can just reuse all these kind of Cronus reports that are in the package. If you look at the release package here, you see all kinds of folders. Depending on the version of your nav, you of course get a few objects that belong to the add-on, but you can also have an installation manual. And if we just drill down to the template folder, you see the report layout package here, W1 version in this case. It's available whenever you download the and start using the add-on from scratch. On top of that, we have made the availability of the all the captions, the translations of your captions. Of course, an invoice should print in English if the customer is English, and it should print in Dutch if the customer is Dutch. All those captions stuff is shipped as part of the product using a rapid start file. So you have to import and apply that rapid start package and you are good to go. Second, or kind of obvious example here is the AL representation of the reports that are shipped with the product. So you can even start building and publishing this solution. Should you want to make changes to the data set structure and things like that, you can just go into here, republish the app, and go on from there. Right, now back to the PowerPoint again. Oh, I forgot one thing that is kind of important, and I will launch that now, Document Creator. This is also part of the installation package, is a designer demo. I'll quickly show you that one as well. It's like a library of examples that are possible using Fast Report / Document Creator as the engine. So it refers to our website and to the Fast Report website up here. But you can here, look up the type of report that you're looking for, maybe a simple list file, or maybe a very funny list file with pictures. But the key thing is that on top of all the examples that are part of this library, you see a little step-by-step how-to instruction, and you can immediately start the designer and take a look at the physical report inside the engine that you just saw me using inside the Business Central application. So it's exactly the same, but then with a bunch of templates that may come in handy whenever you look for a certain solution. And it goes from selecting the right barcode to maybe displaying maps in your report, interactive, maybe connect Russia to a certain part of your data set, and United States with another part of your data set. So maybe you want worldwide oriented sales analysis or something. Everything is basically possible. You just have to know that it's there and waiting for you to be analyzed and used. So you can even nest reports, one top level report, and then drill down to another report below that with pricing and stock availability and stuff like that. So this it's like a Bible for potential reports and an explanation on how to start designing such a report. So it's part of the installation package itself. Now really back to the PowerPoint. As a wrap-up, using this tool makes reporting fun again. That's one of our statements also on the website, I think. A long time, report has not been fun as far as I'm concerned, and I hope you agree with me. It was a struggle, it took time and therefore money. So the first bullet is it saves a lot of time and therefore it saves a lot of money. It is very intuitive to learn and to work with, and you get going in minutes rather than hours or weeks of preparation or examples like that. Consultants and end users may start working with it. There's a very simple way of defining your own templates. So the template reports that you get from us is one thing, but in the setup it's also possible to apply a certain template for yourself and then reuse that when you make a report from scratch. So the starting point is not an empty report referring to some kind of data set. No, it is better than that. It starts with, let's, for example, say a standardized header with a company logo and the address on the same location over and over again, no matter if it's a quote, a sales order, or a credit memo that you are talking about. So in that respect, it can even minimize the workload that you have when you create a lot of reports. As stated before, we do not take away or disable RDLC or MS Word. They live their life next to each other. So you could have this tool and start by doing one report and everything that is already standard stays intact. And then over time, you could have a situation where a lot of document creator reports have been created, all having their own object, having their own AL file as a basis. You're good to go from there. As you have seen in the editor, it's all about very intuitive learning how to work, right-click, enter property, and save the result, drag and drop, and the sorting and grouping already explained in the demo, and then the advanced features and as double parsing and programming using the scripting language. That is, in our opinion, the reason why you should use this tool as you start using this tool as soon as possible to get a smile on your face again. All right, so some availability stuff. As I said before, the app is already inside the app source at Microsoft, so you can just start playing with it right away. It is not explicitly not only available for a SaaS solution on Business Central. It is available in NAV 2015 and up, so you can have an old-fashioned on-premise NAV, and there's a document creator for that as well. It works exactly the same, but then of course focusing on the traditional NAV report objects. We have 4 different license formats, which is all linked to the number of full users that are part of your installation. You can read it here on the screen, the small, medium, large, and extra large installations. Please note that when we talk about users, we are not talking about team member licenses, but only full users are counted in this overview. Should you have any questions, again, please contact sales@idin.nl, especially when it is regarding maybe special demos for your team or trainings for that matter. We do online and on-site trainings. We offer that for availability and pricing. You can also contact the sales box. Again, I hope I have been able to inform you a little bit about the possibilities of this fantastic tool. I'm really, when I saw it for the first time, I was really amazed about the possibilities, and I still am. I hope you enjoyed the show, and again, from our beautiful castle in the Netherlands, I wish you a very nice evening and or working day, depending on your location. I wish you good luck, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.